All right. And we back. Sorry about that, guys. Gotta just make sure, check this stream is going well. Yep. And we back. So my computer just completely glitched out, and this is part of the reason I need to get another one. But we're back. I figured I finished the first communication segment. Again, if you want to call into the show, go ahead and hit me up, 512-591-6138 with your name, city, and topic. Ask a community question, ask a communication question, ask a dog poop horror story, ask a favorite dog story. We're here to help people feel more connected and help people feel a little bit less stressed by getting a laugh in the morning through these dog poop horror stories or these favorite dog stories, or help them feel more connected to their current community or going to find a community by answering their questions about community and about communication to build those relationships. So that's what we're here for. As we're waiting for people to call in and as the show is growing, I always jump into community segments and communication segments on my own. And so that's kind of the goal here. So unless somebody is in the stream right now, which I don't think, let's see. Got nobody right now. So I can go ahead and really check this out. All right, I'll jump into this communication segment and then I'll check the chat back again after I talk a little bit. But something I've always seen in relationships, and this is really when you don't have kind of consistent activity. So in the communication or in the community scale, you're not at small talk. Maybe you're kind of at consistent activity, but you're not at vulnerability or more consistent activity yet. These are like acquaintances or just starting to be friends. Something we always say a lot is like, oh, we should hang sooner. Oh, we should get dinner sooner. Oh, we should do this. And oh, we should do that. And a lot of times when you do that at like the end of a group hangout or the end of a hangout, stuff rarely comes into form. And I think that can be detrimental to our relationships, and that's why I'm discussing it, because when you're trying to build community, you're trying to build relationships. When you're trying to build relationships, you don't want to do stuff detrimental to it. So a question a lot of people may ask is, why am I always saying we should hang soon and never actually doing it? And I would propose another question back to you, and I would say, well, how long can you skip hanging out with friends and family before you start losing those relationships? And in my opinion, the second you skip 2 regularly scheduled activities, you're communicating to that person that you're not committed. The second you do the opposite of what you say, you're losing trust. The second you reply slowly to that person, you're showing them that you have other priorities. And each of these makes you lose relationships slowly. Every time you reply slowly, do the opposite of what you say, or skip a regular activity, it's a vote against the relationship. So take the time to commit to the people you love by turning "we should hang out soon" into "see you next week at this time and this place to do this activity." The specifics and putting it on the calendar make it happen. So that's my first little spiel. I'm going to go ahead and jump into, I always try to record cohesive clips for social media and we can clip it up and hopefully get some more people on the stream. But then I like to just dive a little deep with some more casual conversation about the topic. And man, I think there's a few reasons why people say we should hang out soon and never actually do it. I think the first reason is they actually don't want to hang out soon and they're just being polite. And if that's the case, stop being polite. Like, that's confusing, it's surface level, and it's irritating because you might be speaking to someone who actually feels alone and is actually looking forward to hang out with you. So if you don't want to hang out with them, let them know. Or even better, try to create a world in which you would like hanging out with them. That's something that I think is pretty cool. You know, let's go into a different level of relationship, but a lot of times, you know, you'll be asked on a first date and the person might be a little weird. This is how it be. And if the person's a little weird, you may be asking yourself, why would I go on a date with this person? And most people, when they ask that question, it's negative. But for some people, it could be positive, and it could lead to good feedback for the person. If you guys are friends first, obviously, if you're not, don't just wreck them like that. You have to know that you're friends and that they want the feedback then and there. Most time, if they're asking you on a date, constructive feedback, probably not great unless they're a specific type of person. But still, it might give you a chance to communicate clearly and honestly. Like what would make me want to go on a date with this person, and instead of like having that highlight all the negatives about them, genuinely think what would make me want to go on a date with this person. It's like most of the time, physical appearance is a non-negotiable on first dates. But when you look at married people, man, physical appearance is rarely the thing that keeps married people together. In fact, it's there's no way it's the thing that keeps married people together, because everybody just gets old and they're way less attractive than at 46 than 26, and 56 than 32, and 67 than 42. It's like you just get less and less attractive as you get older, but you intertwine your life with that person, you have more experiences with that person, you build a life with that person, and that makes it so much better. And that happens through all the regularly scheduled activities, prioritizing building trust with that person by doing what you say and saying what you do, and then replying quickly. You're literally in a house with them, so they're probably getting a response from you or some quick feedback cycles from you. And so in marriage, you're stuck doing the opposite of these bad things, right? You can't skip the regularly scheduled activities because it's dinner and it's the kids' events and it's going to sleep. That stuff is happening and you're doing it in your home. Then, if you do the opposite of what you say for too long, it really hits you in the face. So it's better to tell the truth than it is to lie. When you are with other people, friends, acquaintances, etc., you can lie in the moment, be like, yeah, we should hang out soon, even though you never want to hang out with them, because it gives you a little bit of relief. You're like, oh, I was a polite social person. That was a positive interaction. You get a little bit of dopamine, but you never have to deal with the consequences of that because they forget about it. You forget about it. And then a month and a half later, you see them again. You're like, oh, man, we forgot to hang out. We should hang out soon. And you get that same kind of positive loop, but never any commitment. And that actually hurts the relationship because both of you guys are communicating to each other that you're not a priority. And I'll share a hot take I have with you on certain relationships in a second. But it's just like, instead of asking, why should I hang out with this person, and going towards all the negative stuff, go towards the positive. Like, what would genuinely make me want to hang out with this person? What activity would we need to do? Like, what food would we need to eat? Who else would I need to bring? Like, make it a super fun thing and like go do the hangout, like commit to it. I think another way this pops up is like my friend group, the community that I was talking about, like in college. I mean, we're notorious for this now because college was 4 years ago for me, 5 years ago for some people in the group, and 3 years ago for some other people in the group. And so we've now lived some adult life. We've built different lives over that time, and we've been out of college as long as we were in college, right? And so now we're going into different phases of life, if you will. And we always say we should plan a trip together soon. We should get together soon. But we never nail down dates. And now this is a bit more complex because the various aspects of community, proximity just isn't there. Transparency, still there, for sure. Accountability, not there. Like, we're not accountable to each other. We're accountable to the things in our life. Shared purpose, we all love Jesus, but we're not like spreading the gospel together like we used to. So not there. And then consistency, not there. We don't consistently see each other. So the only thing there is transparency, and that's because we just communicate clearly. It's like we all want to go on that trip, but it's tough because we're trying to navigate all the areas of life because we've all made different decisions, which is fine. It's kind of what happens after college, but it's true that we all made the different decisions and we all didn't prioritize each other. And now we're trying to do a trip together and we're communicating. We're more committed to the things in our life than that trip, which is fine. None of us are doing the opposite of what we say, which there's just a lot of conflicts. But we are showing each other we have other priorities than going on the trip with these friends and great community from college, which of course is okay. All I'm saying is when you do these things, you communicate these things. And it's important to not say one thing and do another. Like if you do live close with somebody and you are at the same church or doing the same thing with the shared mission, And there is some accountability to like actually hanging out because, you know, you have your, whatever your community is, you're going to see each other again soon. So there's some accountability there. And then if you see each other consistently because you share community, you know, you have 4 of the 5 things going for you. And so when you have 4 of the 5 things going for you, the more that you choose to give people lip service, I think the less those relationships will do for you. So that's all I'm getting at. I think it's super easy to be like, oh yeah, we should hang out soon because of the dopamine that you get in the moment. But it's even easier to never actually do it because that accountability is weak. That shared purpose is weak. That proximity might be weak. You know, you might be 30 minutes away as opposed to 2 minutes away. And the transparency is weak because you're kind of giving people lip service. And I'm forgetting what the 5th one was. Oh, the consistency. The consistency might be strong. You might be at that consistent activity, seeing each other once or twice a week, but it's not enough for the individual hangout, if you will. Maybe it's only enough for the community hangout. And so these are just things that I'm always thinking about. I'm always wondering about because, yeah, building community it can be hard. Like, I'm not saying it's easy, and I just wanted to kind of go on that little rant. Ooh, there was something else I was going to say. I don't remember. It was a hot take. Oh, yeah. Here was a hot take. So, here's the thing. I'm a relationships guy, like, through and through. I don't like making decisions about, like, let me up in my life for, like, a job. Maybe it's because I love building businesses and like you just go to a city where you can build a business and the income opportunities are there. You just need to be better. But like to move away from my family or to move away from my loved ones for a job, I just literally could not comprehend it. And maybe this is going to bite me in the butt 5 years from now, 10 years from now, where I'm put in this impossible situation and I have to do it. And I'm sure people have their reasons. But like when you're married and you like, this always confused me. You like leave each other for the week and you spend 5 days in different states or, you know, 4 days, most of Monday, most of Friday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in different states. And the point of that is so you can go do your respective jobs, to come back together on Saturday and Sunday, to leave for 5 days. Maybe those people just aren't quality time people. Maybe they're not physical touch people. Maybe they can get through that relationship with words of affirmation, acts of service, and gifts. But yeah, that never made sense to me because all I'm saying, like the whole time I'm communicating that my job is more important than you. I'm going to inconvenience our relationship and our marriage for the sake of my work. And again, sometimes that makes sense. Like, it really does. If you're really a mission-driven person and your family is about that mission and you're clear on that, yes, go for it, do it. I'd personally try to figure out how we can intertwine our lives and our mission. Not always possible. So maybe you have a season of that. I don't know, though. It's just hard for me to communicate that. I'm also a physical touch guy, quiet time guy. So maybe for others, they're not communicating that. But like, long distance was always hard for me. Because I'm like, if we're choosing to be in a relationship and not live in the same place, that means whatever we have gone to separate places for is more important than our relationship. Which means I'm not going to take time out of my day when I've picked this other thing to like try to talk with you and hear about your day. Like that's, I don't know. So much of relationships for me is like the shared experience together, the living together. It's not the like talking. Like talking, bro, talking just pisses me off. Which I know I come on this stream and like talk the whole time, but like obviously this is 1 hour of my life. I live the rest of my life like I'm trying to do the stuff with the people. That's it. I'm trying to build businesses with people. I'm trying to hang out with people. I'm trying to eat meals with people. I'm not trying to just be like, yeah, let's grab coffee and chat. That's like my least favorite activity. I'm like, let's go play a sport together. Let's go build a business together. Let's go learn a skill together. Let's go. We can even watch a show together. Like, we can go be entertained together. I'm just like, just the talking. Talking for me, it's often stage one of community. Like, people want small talk before they want activity, but I can't handle small talk until after major consistent activity. Cause I'm like, now we're invested enough in each other's lives to talk about things that don't matter. Because ultimately, the things that don't matter do matter, just like not to me. Like, I don't know. Maybe that is absolutely absurd. But like, when I'm engaged in small talk with like a stranger about the weather, it's like, yeah, maybe this is just me. Maybe I'm about to sound like a real douchebag on this stream, but I'm like, man, I don't care how you feel about the weather. Like, I just really don't. And you know what? I don't think you care how I feel about the weather. I don't think either of us cares how we feel about the weather. So what do we care about? Like, let's interact on there. And then we can build such an intertwined life together that we're experiencing the weather together. And then it becomes relevant. Like, if we're out playing volleyball in the sun for 3 hours, for example, it's like, man, it's hot. Yeah, it is hot. But that's not small talk. That's reflection on the shared experience, which is, it's different. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's some of the stuff I think about. And that was my hot take. Like, married couples or long distance relationships, or like when you're spending a lot of time away from your loved ones, you're saying this is more important than my loved ones. And it might be. Like, there's no judgment there. I'm just saying I would never do it. For a lot of people, their parents are in the military, or they have very intense careers where it requires them to travel. And we need those people to be in those careers. So you're making that sacrifice. And maybe you're not even saying that you care about your work more than your family, but you are prioritizing it, which does communicate a level of care. And maybe you can balance it and be like, yeah, we go intense on the weekends, and during the week it's work time. And that's a habit that people can do, right? I don't know. It's just something in the back of my head, because it's always bugged me a little bit when I would see people away from their spouses for weeks at a time. Because I'm like, if you have 365 days in a year and you spend 250 of them away from each other, come on now. Well, that's tough. No, life's too short. Life's too short. Those are my thoughts, at least. All right, let's see. See if we got anybody in chat. We got one person on Facebook, one person on Twitch, one person on YouTube. Everybody go ahead and leave a comment. If you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitch, let me know you're here. You could text in to 512-591-6138 with your name, city, and topic. Ask me a community question. Ask me a communication question. You could share a dog poop horror story. You could share a favorite dog story. Let me know what you got. My phone is off of Do Not Disturb, so I will get your texts. I will get your calls. You can join the stream here, or you can leave a comment, and we can engage that way. Happy to do either. We just wrapped up our first community segment where we were talking about the kind of phenomenon where people are going like, why do I always say we should hang out soon and never actually do it? And I was just posing the question, like, how long can you skip hanging out with friends and family before losing those relationships? Because every time you skip a regularly scheduled activity, do the opposite of what you say, or reply slowly to people, you're communicating you're not committed, you're losing trust, and you're showing them you have other priorities. And so each of these makes you lose those relationships slowly. And so what you want to do is, instead of putting a vote against the relationship by replying slowly, doing the opposite of what you say, or skipping a regular activity, you want to take the time to commit to the people you love by turning a "we should hang out soon" into a "see you next week at this time, this place to do this activity," so that it actually gets done. Because then people can say yes or no to the specific thing, as opposed to giving lip service to the amorphous thing. So that's the community segment we just went on. We're going to try and read a few dog poop horror stories, and then we'll jump to a communication segment. But let's see what we got going. Hop on Reddit right quick. So 8 days ago, I asked, what's your favorite dog poop story or any hilarious dog story? Here we go. So Queen in the North. Reminds me of that show, Queen of the South. So good name. I like it. Queen in the North 13, 8 days ago, said, half day before Christmas break at the elementary school I work at, all the kindergartners were dressed in adorable Christmas PJs. Here we go. Starting out fresh. Don't know how it's a dog poop horror story, but we'll see. Turns out someone in the community left dog poop on the playground. Okay, I'm starting to see how it's a dog poop horror story. Well, one of the kids stepped in it and tracked it all over the slide. Next thing you know, over a dozen kindergartner students are covered in dog poop. Shoes, winter coats, hands, gloves, PJs, pants, Crocs, socks. I see what you did there. Crocs, socks. It was awful. There was literally not enough extra clothes in the nurse's office. We had to call parents to bring clothes. The principal, nurse, reading specialist, secretaries, and counselor were trying to help scrub the poop off of these poor kids, and I will never forget it. Queen in the North 13, that is an epic dog poop horror story. I feel bad for those kids. Shame on you, the dog owner who left the dog poop in the playground, and shame on you, elementary school, for not hiring me to give it a free poop scoop or get me on subscription for a poop scoop, because I can handle that for you. Again, we come on the stream for a few reasons. We want to help people feel connected, and we want to make sure that people feel unburdened, less stressed, if you will, from stressed to less stressed, and from lonely or just bored to connected. And so we answer community questions, we answer communication questions, we give you a laugh with these dog poop horror stories and these favorite dog stories. But in practice, we have a dog parent community in Austin that we bring people into, and we like to throw events and stuff there. And then we also do poop scooping. So we take that chore off your hands so you feel less stressed, and we have a discount club so you can save more money and feel less stressed. And Queen in the North 13 had an epic dog story where kindergartners are getting poop all over their all over everything because one dog owner left some poop at an elementary school, which created a very chaotic time for these parents and these teachers and everybody who works at the elementary school, because obviously you want the kids to be taken care of. Like, you don't want them to suffer, really. And so Queen in the North 13, thanks for sharing. You got featured on the stream. I'll send you a reply right here. Thanks for sharing. You just got featured on the stream. There we go. Dog poop horror story in the books. If you guys have any other dog poop horror stories or you want to share anything, feel free to call into the stream, text into the stream, 512-591-6138. Name, city, topic. I'll load you in or I'll call you up. One of the two. All right. Let's keep the good times rolling. Curious, maybe I should play some chess or do some reaction videos. I just need help planning out these streams. Doing them every day. It's like, man, you're just doing stuff. I just come on and I talk until we get a lot of call-ins, which sometimes we do. During the weeks, we have a bit more call-ins, but Sunday morning, early. It's a little early for call-ins on a Sunday morning. Let's see what we got. Communication. Let's see. Let's do a P1. Oh, we already did this one. I did like it, though. Liked it in a previous stream. All right, I'm going to read out some questions. Let me know what you guys think. How do I avoid assuming their priorities? How do I read between the lines? This is talking about connection, becoming genuinely interested in others, and the specific action is reading what matters to them. What if their values are different than mine? Hmm. Hmm. That's an interesting one. Do I want to do this one? What if their values are different than mine? Yeah, I mean that might be a good one. Let's check if we have any call-ins first. Any comments next? One person on Twitch say, "Hey, Fluffy the Demon Fox, you trying to sell me some cheap viewers? Come on, man. Come on, man. Man, I really think the title of our stream will help with discoverability. We'll see though. Yeah, I'll do it. What the heck? We'll answer the question, how do you communicate with people if their values are different than yours? We'll try to get a viral hook for it. Let's see if we can get a viral hook for it. I like this. I like this. Try and use these viral hooks so we can get some more people on the stream, guys. um, let's see. So I think this one's about conflict, and I kind of like this viral hook. Okay. Oh gosh, sorry, I just got in the zone on this. Yeah, let me explain to you what I'm doing. Eventually, you'll be able. I gotta get to where you can see my screen so that we can interact a bit better. I don't have to like talk the whole time and explain what I'm doing. That's how you know your boy slept 6.5 hours. Can't pronounce words. Whew. Okay, let's see if I can do this on time. Ready? Here we go. In 60 seconds, I'm going to teach you more about conflict than you've ever learned in your entire life. I'm gonna run that back. In 60 seconds, I'm going to teach you more about conflict than you've learned in your entire life. So when most people argue, they talk over each other and completely miss each other's points. Instead of listening to somebody's words, they ignore them. So let's listen for these three things instead. Values. What principles do they follow that are creating this tension? Is there any merit in those principles? And then their beliefs. What do they believe that makes them argue this point? And do I agree with any of those beliefs? Pain. What you got to understand is that hurt people hurt people. So what emotions are they experiencing? Can I empathize? And finally, their past. What happened to them to make them react this way? See, when you shift from judgment and opposition to sitting on the same side of the table and seeking to understand them, the argument turns into a session of understanding each other so you can go towards a common goal. Wasn't that bad? 50 seconds. I'm just going to run that first part back so my VA can edit it because I think that clip needs a bit more work. But in 60 seconds, I'm going to teach you more about conflict than you've learned in your entire life. See, when most people argue, they talk over each other and completely miss each other's points instead of listening. So, we're going to run that back one more time so we can get the clip. Sorry, guys. You're catching it live. Like when you're making a reel, you want to get it right. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. In 60 seconds, I'm going to teach you more about conflict than you've ever learned in your entire life. When most people argue, they talk over each other, completely miss each other's points, and man, you guys are getting it live here. We're going to try it one more time. Let's see. In 60 seconds, I'm going to teach you more about conflict than you've ever learned in your entire life. When most people argue, they talk over each other and completely miss each other's points. Instead of sabotaging the communication, let's listen for three things instead. When most people argue, they talk over each other and completely miss each other's points. Instead of sabotaging the communication, let's listen for these four things instead. All right, that's it. We could put a clip together from that. But yeah, so guys, I talked about listening for values, listening for beliefs, listening for pain, and then listening for their past. And because I think these are the four things that really impact people in a way that we don't understand. When we choose to try to understand them, things get a lot more clear. Because, you meet somebody's parents, you're like, oh, that's why you're that way. Yeah, no, that makes sense. You start to empathize. You've now seen their past, and you're like, man, if my past were like that, if I had walked a mile in your shoes, yeah, I'd probably be like that too. You know, you see their pain. You're like, what emotion are they experiencing? Can I empathize? So when you know that, you ate in a very sloppy way and left your food all over the table, and their parents used to do the same thing, And then after they did it, if the kid didn't like clean it up immediately, the parent would spank them or something like that. Right? Something completely unreasonable that doesn't make sense and would hurt somebody's feelings long term. Maybe they're yelling at you because you ate a little sloppy and you left it for 15 minutes while you went to go do another thing before you came to clean it up. They may have projected that experience or the experience with their parents onto this situation, and now they think you're causing them the emotional damage that their parents caused them. Like, people do that pretty much all the time. So in that case, you might want to take the time to understand, because when somebody's getting really emotional or really hurt over something that doesn't make a lot of sense, there's either something else going on currently and they're venting through this very small situation, or there's something from their past that they're venting in this very small situation. And so your goal is to understand that small or understand the other bigger situations that are coming through this small situation so that you can connect with them, understand them, and kind of move towards a common goal together. Because when people are feeling like that, when they're super emotional, they need to be heard. They need to be understood. And that's something we can do for them. So, yeah, we talked about their past. We talked about pain, beliefs. What do they believe that makes them argue this point? It's a great question to ask because it'll help you understand their frame. Same thing with the values question. When you start to really, I'm like doing a pick right now. So I'm like picking at somebody's belief, like digging to understand. It'll do a lot for you because you'll start to see that they believe that they're not worth love, or they believe that nobody would give them grace, or that they believe that they should be punished, or that they believe that their personal worth comes from their work, or that they believe people will only be around them if this, that, and the other. And when you get to these beliefs, you start to understand that like that is a hard existence. And so if somebody's arguing something that seems a little bit illogical, what's the belief that attaches to that? And that belief is probably tied to an emotion and something in their past where they learned that thing. So what experiences, emotions did somebody have to go through to learn this belief? When you ask that question, it can really help you empathize. And then values. What principles do they follow that are creating this tension? The thing I like about this is that it's also pretty, how can I say this? It makes you self-reflect as well. So when you're asking what principles do they follow that are creating this tension, is there any merit in those principles? You are also asking, what principles do I follow? Like when there's tension, it's like you have to know their principles, you have to know your principles. So when we get into values, what principles do they follow that are creating this tension? Is there any merit? You start to analyze, okay, they look at the world in a way where they think this is right and this is wrong. I look at the world in a way where I think this is right and this is wrong. Is there any merit to their view? Are there any holes in my view? Is there a bridge that connects the two views? Maybe we're both missing something. And so listening, and not just to their words, but to what's behind their words, will help you navigate conflict in a beautiful way because it changes conflict into growth. Because if there's conflict, it means things are not running well. If things are not running well, it means there's probably some sort of skill deficiency or belief conflict or values conflict. Like something's off. So the quicker you find that thing and focus on solving it together so you can both get out of conflict, you're not avoiding conflict, you're going through the conflict to grow. That's why I like that scripture. Let me just find it. Let me find it. Suffering produces character. So yeah, conflict is a good thing. Yeah, bro. The Bible has some hits. It's pretty crazy though. Let me read this for you guys real quick. Romans 5 verses 3 through 4. So peace with God through faith. We rejoice in our sufferings. So here we go. We're rejoicing in conflict. We're rejoicing in the suffering that conflict produces, knowing that the suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope does not put us to shame because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. So, we rejoice in our sufferings. Conflict is typically a negative thing for people. I would say that's some suffering. There are other forms of suffering, but conflict, I would say a lot of people do suffer from conflict. In fact, most people don't really enjoy conflict, but maybe they've been trained to rejoice when it comes because they know that the suffering from the conflict will produce endurance. Like you will be able to take words and actions that would typically cause emotional strain, and through the conflict, you'll learn to listen. And through that listening, you'll learn to understand. And through that understanding, you'll learn to connect. And through that connection, you'll learn to grow. Yeah, I like that. I got to write that down. That was good. That was good. Listening to understanding to connecting to growing. Got to clip that. Clip that. But yeah, so that suffering produces endurance. So we're rejoicing at it. But then that endurance produces character. Like now that you've went through that process once and again and again and again, each time you have conflict, you are now a person who can understand, a person who can connect, a person who can grow. And so that character produces hope. Because if you're like me, or if you're not like me, but you're human. So God is love. So I'm always trying to grow closer with God. He is love himself. So I'm trying to get better at loving people. I just do that by my relationship with Jesus Christ. Because when you focus on him, it will naturally cause you to love more. That's what I believe. That's one of my beliefs. Maybe that's at conflict with some of you guys. Maybe it's not. But what I do think is cool, and then I'll finish up the stream, is that even if it's not Jesus or God for you, it's probably love. Like you're probably wanting to love and to be loved. And if that's the case, this character that you've produced through the endurance that came from the suffering of conflict, which is right here in Romans 3 through 5, your suffering from conflict produces the endurance because you've done it again and again and again and again. And that endurance produces character because now that you've had so many reps, you are now a person who is, or a person who can understand, a person who can connect, a person who can grow. And because you're that person now, you have hope. Hope that you can love and hope that you can be loved. Because a person who can understand other people is now understood by more people. Who can connect with people is now connected to by more people. And who can grow for the sake of other people and with other people through the thing, grows towards goals with people. Like if you cannot grow, if you cannot connect, if you cannot understand, good luck being understood, having people you're connected to, and growing. But the second you learn to listen, not to the words, but to the stuff behind the words, you now have a shot at understanding, which gives you a shot at connecting, which gives you a shot at growth together. So that's it for the stream today, 8:02. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you guys for listening. I think we got some good clips from today. I had nobody on the chat except for Fluffy, the Demon Fox, who says I can get cheap viewers on streamboo.com. Remove the space. So anyway, that's I need some mods. That's what I need. Some mods. I think we had a few people come in on Facebook. We had that little snafu in the beginning, and I forgot to start the vertical recording again. That's super irritating. But it is what it is. I will see you guys on the next one.